So welcome everyone. I am Gaurav Dhupar and I am Senior Official of International Association of Project Managers, India Network. And today we have with us Dr. Helio Costa, who is the creator of FLEKS hybrid model. And we are going to discuss about hybrid management, how predictive approaches and adaptive approaches can work together. It is not about which one is better, but how to get best of both the worlds. So we'll hear more from Dr. Helio Costa. But before that, I will just like to give a brief background about Dr. Helio Costa. So Dr. Helio Costa is right now in Portugal, and he has served Air Force of Brazil for 30 years, from 1983 to 2013. So he was in military as aviator officer, and he was flying many kinds of aircrafts from fighter to cargos. But his last 10 years of his career was at Air Force. And his last 10 years were dedicated to information technology during this time. And his focus area is project, program, and portfolio risk management. And this was his topic of his MSc and DSc and postdoctoral degrees. So in 2005, Dr. Helio became an MBA professor in project management and consultant, helping companies in fields such as energy, petrochemicals, oil and gas, software development, military equipment, telecommunications, and civil engineering. And he's also an enthusiast of outdoor sports like mountaineering, climbing, and hiking. So very interesting profile of Dr. Helio. Welcome, Dr. Helio, on this platform.
Well, good morning, good afternoon for everyone, good night. I don't know what time is it, who's attending for us. It's a pleasure. Thank you very much, Gaurav, for the invitation, for being here, especially on this Sunday. Okay, welcome everyone. Let's start. We have around 1 hour, isn't it?
Yes, yes. So we'll keep it around 45 minutes so that we get some time for question and answers also.
Okay, okay. And can I share some slides right now?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, I'll do it right now. Okay, let's talk a little bit about FLEKS. Well, can you see my slides right now?
Yes, Dr. Helio, we can see.
Okay, let's move on. This is FLEKS. This is FLEKS. Why FLEKS with KS? FLEKS with KS is just a little bit different from FLEKS with flexibility with X, because this is written in Esperanto, is a world language. This is why FLEKS is exactly like this with KS. And the reason of the name of the FLEKS model is just to create a kind of flexibility in your plans, to create the possibility to adopt any kind of approach in your hybrid environment. This is the idea why flexibility is so important and why the name is FLEKS model. Okay, so the first thing here is to understand how you can create hybrid practices. This is important to understand and get in your mind. Why this is important? Because predictive approaches here you have predictive approaches that are very famous around the world, and we'll continue to be using predictive approaches all over the ages. We are going to use it forever. People are going to build bridges and buildings and hospitals and trains and roads. We are going to do that, okay? And the best part of predictive approaches are the management processes. The management process. They are very strong on management processes. And here, when you have the adaptive approaches or agile approaches, you have something like developing products. They are the best product development practices in the world. So here, when you try to merge, when you try to combine the predictive approaches, which is good to give predictability, good to bring you management practice, and put it together with the development practice, you can create a hybrid practice, giving more predictability to the adaptive approaches and giving more flexibility and agility or lean processes to predictable processes, predictable practice. Okay, this is the idea to create hybrid practice where you can use both practice on the same time and on the same project, on the same initiative, on the same portfolio, or in the same company together. Okay, this is the idea of creating hybrid practice. It's not a question that's like you said, Gaurav, which one is the best? It's a question of how can we mix both and get the best of things. And these practices here are the best in kinds of predictability and management. And these ones here are the best in developing products and lean processes. So when you can merge both, you are in the best of the world. Okay, this is the idea to create hybrid practice, and this is why hybrid management is all about. And here in FLEKS, I'm going just to summarize because we are short of time here. We have some important concepts. We have some pillars based on the basis of FLEKS, which is flexibility. It's the basic of everything. In my understanding, flexibility is the basic for agility. If you don't have flexibility, it's not possible to be adaptable. It's not possible to be agile. It's not possible to do anything regarding to adapt to uncertainties. So we have these pillars. There is flexibility is the first one. The second one is integration. Integration is very important to integrate everything, just like we do here in the Magic Cube here. You must have everything in mind that you have a, let me say that, let's say that, systemic view of how you're managing things in products and projects and portfolio. So integration is very strong in FLEKS model. The third one is communication. Open communication is very, very, very important to create transparency, to facilitate decision-making processes. So communication is also very important in this process. And finally, we have people. People is very important. Projects are made for people, by people, to change people's life. So this is why these four pillars are very important on FLEKS model. Okay, so there is another mindset that is a mix between, let's say, predictive and adaptive approaches. We have a lot of mindsets and actually six mindsets that you have to incorporate to apply FLEKS in a better way. Let's say this. Okay, I won't get in detail. Everything is on the model. I just want to skip this part because I want to focus on the model itself. But there is a specific mindset that you can check there, as well as principles. Okay, you have 8 management principles there on FLEKS model that are very important to implement the model itself. That I believe that if you can use these principles, you can be very flexible and you can be very hybrid. Okay, this is the point. Okay, if you want to check what is the principles and the mindsets, go there on the website, go there, download the guide, and everything is written there. But one important thing here is the value and how the FLEKS model observes the value here. Value is the center of the model. Okay, the FLEKS model is value-centered, value-driven method, because this is very important. I mean, how can we understand model? The FLEKS model, on the concepts of value here on FLEKS model is that the traditional, a little bit different from the traditional concept of value, which can be considered, for example, value is a relation between the cost minus or benefit minus cost, or value is a benefit over cost. It's a relationship between benefit and cost. This is a traditional point of view of value in the world. The more benefit, the less cost of the best resources, the better and the greatest the value. But here in the FLEKS model, we consider something a little bit different. We have to consider the level of uncertainty to create this value. This is the point. So value here, let's suppose that you have a benefit here over cost, and what is the chance of having this value succeed in your life? This is the point. If you don't consider the chance of getting this value done in a certain amount of time, or if the cost is not there, if the benefit is not there, or what's the level of uncertainty? So this is very important, and I'm going to show you right now some examples and how can analyze value on this point of view can change many things in your life. This is one tool of 11 tools that we have inside the model, and everything is for free. We have 11 canvas there that you can download on the website. And let me show you an example on how things are very different on the FLEKS model and how you analyze value here. On the first part here on the left, in this part here, you have a traditional point of view of how to measure value. For example, here we have on the vertical axis, we have benefits. The more benefits, the better. Here, less benefits. And here we have costs or resources or anything you want to measure. But here, according to the traditional point of view, the more, here we have an inverted axis here, plus and minus. And why I created this? Because the more benefit and the less cost, the better for you. Okay, this is obvious, this is traditional. Okay, no problem. And if you have low benefit and high cost, oh my God, I don't want it. Okay, but if you are here in this quadrant here and also in this quadrant here, you have to analyze, because this is good. You have high benefit but high cost. For example, let's suppose that you're trying to, I'm going to start my doctorate course. It's a high investment in your life, 4 or 5 years maybe. You have benefits. It's high benefit, but it's a lot of effort here. So you have to think about it. And also, if you have here, oh, it's not too expensive, but it doesn't break me to benefit here. So why doing this? Maybe it's necessary, but you have to do. So in these quadrants here, you have to think about if it's worth or not. This quadrant here, okay, I won't do it, never. And here is highly recommended. But this is the traditional point of view and how you can prioritize many things in your life. But on the FLEKS point of view, this is a little bit different. For example, let's suppose that you have the same board, but the colors here of the sticky notes represents the level of uncertainty to get this value regarding benefits, regarding costs, everything like this. If you have the red one here, you have low chance of getting success. If you have a yellow one, let's suppose that this one here, you have half chance to get there. And if you have a green one, okay, I have a great chance to get this value. So this is the point. So based on these three sticky notes here that you can have here in your hand, just like here, using the same board, you can change many things in your decision process. Let's take an example. For example, here you have something in this quadrant. Oh, this is good. Excellent benefit, low cost, but the chance to getting success is very low due to a lot of amount of uncertainties. Is it a good approach? Is it a good project? I don't know. I have to consider that. But let's suppose this one here. Comparing this one with this one, in this quadrant here, obviously you would choose this. But when you consider the level of uncertainty regarding this project, for example, this one is much better. This is the point. And also, maybe this one here with not so many benefits, but almost the same price, for example, but the level of uncertainty is completely different. So you have to think, you have to weigh this kind of process inside your decision process on how to measure value and how you're going to deliver this value. Let's suppose another example. For example, let's take this project here, for example, is initiative. Look at this one here. You have the same benefit, and also we are in the same quadrant. But look at here. This one here is less expensive, this one less effort, but if you can consider just the project itself, this one and this one, you would tend to choose this one here because it's less cost. But if you consider the level of uncertainty, what will be your decision? Is it the same? I don't know. We have to think about it. That's the same case of this one here. These ones have the same cost, and these ones have more benefits, and these ones have less benefit. But look at the chance of getting success. What would be your choice? And this is a good point on how you can balance your portfolio. Maybe you can try to do this because it's a high benefit, but you have to balance putting some projects here in this quadrant here with a green color just to balance your portfolio, just to balance how things minimize the level of uncertainty of the whole portfolio of your whole project. And this kind of reason can be used just to prioritize your sprint backlog, your portfolio backlog, anything that in your project backlog. So this is one tool, specific one tool that I would like to bring to you that exists on the FLEKS model, and how you can use and think about value on a different way. So this is the point, okay? It's just one tool. We have lots of them there to support the project, to support the initiative, to support the model itself. And they're all for free. You can download there on the website, okay? I just want to bring you an example of how the FLEKS model works with value, okay? So, and regarding this value that we are going to deliver, we have 6 different variables that I name it value variables, okay? Traditional variables that we have to manage on our projects, but I'd like to emphasize here that all of them are flexible. We can flexibilize any one of them because the most important thing here is to deliver value. Here in the FLEKS model, despite of using the iterative process to deliver things, that we can do that because we are in a hybrid approach. Why not using sprints, for example, to deliver things? But here, you don't have to keep the time box very strict, for example. You don't have to keep the scope or cost or resources. Nothing here on FLEKS model is rigid. The only thing that you have to focus on is on value. If you have to flexibilize cost or time or resources or risks or anything like this, you can do it. I'm not saying that you're going to flexibilize everything. I'm saying here that you have the right to flexibilize anything regarding the value delivery. This is the point. Let's say an example for, let's suppose that you have a project that you have, for example, sprints, 3-week sprints that you're delivering things, okay? 3-week sprints. And here you have a scope, you have a cost, you have a resources applied, many things like that. But at the end here, at this time box here, 3 weeks, you're not able to deliver the value that you agreed your clients. What you're going to do? Wait 3 more weeks? Maybe in 1 or 2 more days, it's possible to deliver this value. So if this is an agreement and we can flexibilize this and it's agreed with your clients, your stakeholders, why not take 1 or 2 more days to deliver the value that is so important? We don't have to wait 3 more weeks to do that. It's just an example of how you can flexibilize variables. Okay, it's important to keep the time. Yes, it's important to keep times sometimes. But what is more important, to measure team performance or deliver the value? This is the point. I'm focused here on delivering value. The most important thing here is value. It's not a question of keeping the time box or keeping the scope or keeping its importance here is the value. This is the point. Okay? This is how the FLEKS model is all about. Everything is focused on delivering value. It doesn't matter if it's a small sprint. It doesn't matter if it's your project or a release or a program or a portfolio. The focus here is on delivering value. Okay? So this is what I want to come. This is the overview of the model. Okay? It looks like complex, but it works like a Lego. John, think about a Lego, the game for your kids. Everything here is a piece of Lego, and you have big blocks. And you have big blocks here. Okay? The dark blue block, the green one, the blue ones, and I'm going to explain just in an overview. Okay, I'm not getting in details, but I can answer some questions later. Okay, this big block here talks about organization. It's a big block. Okay, and here is the traditional part of organization. Okay, I won't get into detail right now, but here starts the difference when talking about the FLEKS model. Sustainability is the first model that you have in the world that includes sustainability inside the model itself. You have to consider sustainability together with your strategy and your goals because we need it today. It's vital for us, for mankind. So we talk about sustainability, how you get on strategy and things like this. And also you have a change management process inside the model because this is very important to implement the model itself and to change people's lives. Remember, we are doing things for people, so we have to change people's lives. So how you're going to implement that? And also, when we're talking about implementing the FLEKS model, this is a changing process. So we have to think about it. You can use the FLEKS model to implement the FLEKS model. This is a very important thing. You can use the tools you have inside the model to implement it, to create how you're going to change things in your organization. What will be your strategy to implement the FLEKS model? What will be our strategic goals in implementing the model? And how can we create sustainable value delivery to implement the FLEKS model? The model implements itself. It's recursive. That's the process. Okay, based on that, we have a traditional strategy process here. You can use 5 forces and Porter. You can use balance scorecard. You can use SWOT model here. You can use anything you want in your strategy and delivering your goals. But here has a big difference from the FLEKS model, from other models in the world. You have a VMO. It's like a traditional PMO, yes, but something's a little bit more than traditional VMO. This is a value management office. It makes the whole difference. What's the difference between a PMO, a classical PMO, and a VMO? In a VMO here, you think about the whole value chain, okay? You think about the whole value chain here. Not only processes to manage projects, not only processes and tools to deliver value on projects and portfolios and process, nothing like this. You have to think about everything that creates value in your organization. Everything, culture, tools, process, governance, procurement, suppliers, people, resource, everything that produces value. You have to think about your process. You have to think about everything regarding to value creation. This is the difference, a big difference between just a traditional project management office and a value management office. And you have to think about the governance here, the governance of how you are going to create value. And this is based on three main spots. Here you have people, process, and technology. Regarding these, you have governance. And this is what governance is all about here on the FLEKS model. And also, the main goal here of the FLEKS model is to maximize value deliver and minimize the risks of your company. So this is so important to have a risk management process here to maximize the value that we are going to create and minimize the risks. This is why it's so important here. Also, we have knowledgement here, because knowledge is a value. And we have to collect information and share information from our initiatives here. So this is why the VMO also deals with value management office. Also, you have an OKR, objective and key results. And this is how you start the hybrid processes. Here we have a traditional strategy processes, and here we have an agile way of creating a strategy. And when you're creating agile and traditional way of creating a strategy in cycles, because OKR deals with cycles, strategic cycles, small cycles here, it's like small iterations. of your strategy here. So you're trying to create a hybrid process of managing your strategy. And the VMO is responsible for that. Okay? If you can give more details and objective and key results on the guide or even in other sources. Here we have also the initiative selections here. And here, this is very important because when you're trying to find the selection of initiatives here on the FLEKS model, it's not a question of prioritizing which one has the more value. We must think about the best set of initiatives that maximize the value and minimize the global risks. And this tool here is very important on this point. You can use this tool here to maximize your value and minimize your risks regarding your initiative processes. And the same thought here can be used in planning your portfolio, your project, or even your sprint down here. When you're trying to plan what will be my sprint backlog, this must be considered. What will be the best set of features of user stories? You don't know, you call any name you want. What will be the best set of initiatives? What will be the best set of features? What will be the best set of releases that will compound my project, my portfolio, or even my sprint backlog? What will be the best set that maximize the value of this sprint and minimize the risks of this sprint? What will be the best set of releases to maximize the value of my project and minimize the risk of my project? What will be the best set of my projects that maximize the benefits or the value of my portfolio and minimize the risks of my portfolio? This is the point. That's the same thought that you have to do in the whole chain. Okay, this is the idea. And then we have the KPIs just to maximize and visualize if you're going to your goals or not. And here you have goals also. But here in FLEKS, we have two kinds of KPIs, the hard ones and the soft ones. Hard KPIs are related to hard skills. Soft KPIs are related to soft skills. Okay. Well, this is the VMO here. Okay, so it's a very important element inside the FLEKS model. Okay, then, but when the VMO thinks about what I'm going to create here to maximize my value, sometimes this is a project, sometimes this is just a product. And when you're thinking about a project, for example, you have to analyze if it's worth it or not. This is why you have business analysis here. And this is the basic elements of business analysis that we have created here on the FLEKS model. And for each one of them, inside the model, you have a canvas that can help you and your team to do that in an iterative and very easy way. You can do that, okay? I won't get into more details about business analysis, but this is a kind of bridge between the ideas that the VMOs wants to go to maximize the value creation and the projects and portfolio itself. Okay, this is a bit, it fills the gap between the what can I do and what I will do. This is the point. This is why business analysis is here. Okay, it's not you're not obliged to use everything here, but you can use if you want. Just like a Lego. Remember, John, it's like a Lego. Oh, if I know the solution, okay, you don't have to do this. If I don't need to define the values or I understand the need analysis, you don't use to do this. It's like a Lego. Everything is like a Lego there. You can use the pieces as well as your needs. That's the point. And if you don't need to make a business analysis, you just remove it from your process. This is the point. And if you don't need, okay, I don't want to implement, for example, knowledge management in my company. Okay, you're not obliged to do this. Remove this from your FLEKS model. Oh, I don't want to I don't want to do some kind of risk management. Okay, you can do it, but it's not my advice, but you can do it. So, and this is how we come for our best part of the model. That is the production group. Here, value is created. And here you have three different layers: the portfolio management layer, the project management layer, and the product management layer. Okay, three different layers. Why I created this level? Because we have different roles here on the right side. You have the VMO manager here, responsible for that. We have the business analyst here, responsible for that. You have the portfolio here, responsible for that. You also have the program manager. Helio, where is the program manager layer here? It's here. It's exactly the same thing that you do on a portfolio layer, but will be portfolio management layer. There will be something in the middle of these processes here. So people are asking me, Helio, you don't have programs? Yes, we have programs, but they follow the same events on the portfolio just to make things easier. That's the same events. Okay. And then we have the portfolio management layer here to plan the portfolio iteration. And what is the portfolio iteration? That's the same cycle of the OKR. Let's suppose that the OKR has cycles in quarters, for example, the first quarter, second, third, and fourth quarter. And here I have created the portfolio iteration with the same cycle of the OKR. So when the business here defines an OKR cycle and the initiatives that are going to get into this first cycle, here we try to understand what is going to be done in my portfolio in this OKR cycle. And then we can define which will be a project, a program, or anything like this. Okay, so the portfolio cycle here is the same of the OKR cycle, just to keep things in equal term. And then you have the project here that compounds this one here and this one here. When you're trying to do a project in the FLEKS model, you need the project layer and the product layer. You need both. The project management here is responsible for the predictable part of the project. And here, when you have the product manager here, you have the adaptive part of the project, because this is focused on producing things. And this is focused on management. And this is focused on producing things. And here we have simple facts here. You see, the same events, the same logic, the same artifacts are created all over the model. For example, you have a portfolio planning, that you have a portfolio backlog, and you have the iteration roadmap, or you have the iteration backlog. And here you have the project, that you have a project backlog, and you have the project backlog, the project iteration, the project value variables estimate. And here you have the product, and here you have the sprint. So everything is all the same. You have iteration here on your sprint, you have review, you have review on your releases, you have reviews on your projects, you have reviews on your portfolios. You have retrospective here, you have retrospective in your projects, you have a retrospective in your portfolio. Everything's the same. As soon as you understand what a sprint is, that's the same thing happening all over in all levels. This is why it's so simple to implement FLEKS and so effective, because everybody talks about the same processes, the same tools, the same inputs, the same outputs, the same events. This is the point.
Dr.
If you
Helio,
understand.
so sorry to interrupt you. One common question is coming up regarding FLEKS model. So I wanted you to address this.
Okay.
The implementation part. Do you have any specific examples or any case studies where it can be implemented or has been implemented?
Yeah, there are some companies implementing this in Brazil right now. We have companies doing this in engineering, in HR, human resources doing this. We have people doing this in the government itself. We have a software company doing this exactly right now, doing FLEKS model and implementing right now. And I'm helping them to implement it right. Just things I remember. Okay. So And as soon as you understand what is a sprint, and this is exactly a sprint, you understand what will be a release planning. You understand what will be a project planning, a portfolio planning, because happens on the same way. Everything happens on the same way. For example, let's suppose that you have a product backlog here. Let's suppose you have a product backlog here. And then here you have to think about what is going to be in my sprint. And then you have your iteration, you have iteration meetings here, and you have the iteration review. And as soon as you finish your iteration review, you have to adapt your backlog. And at the end of all iterations of one release, you have the release review. And here together with the release, the project. And then at the end of all releases, you have the project retrospective. And also here, when you have the releases here, you get information for your portfolio. And as well as you have iteration meetings here, you have coordination meetings here when you're dealing with programs and portfolios. And here you have the chance to adapt everything every time. How? For example, let's suppose you have your product backlog here. And let's suppose here you have your project backlog. And here you have a small sprints. And at the end of each sprint, you have to adapt your backlog. And when you finish all the iterations of the first release, for example, you have a set of releases to be planned. So at the end of all sprints of the first release, you have to adapt. And the second one is going to be more iterations and you have to adapt. In all iterations and you have to adapt. And this happens as well as you're going to do here on a small sprint. You do it for each release, for each project, and for each one on your portfolio. You do the same logic every time. I'm going to do a small sprint, adapt. A small release, adapt. A small project, adapt. Everything, all programs, and adapt. It's a recursive process. As soon as you understand what a sprint is, you can apply it on all levels. And we have a difference here on the FLEKS model that you have to consider when trying to implement it. For example, when you're trying to implement here an iteration, for example, you have the iteration meeting that will be similar to a daily meeting on a Scrum. But why doing it on a daily basis if it's not necessary? This is the point. Here on the FLEKS model, if here on the planning, you need to understand to get together just every other day or every 1 week, depending on what you're going to do, you are allowed to do this. The default meeting is daily, but you can change it. Also, you can change the length of the sprints or the length of the releases because it depends. Remember, we are in a hybrid environment. If you are in a, for example, if you are in a more exploratory part of your scope, maybe you need small sprints to discover what you have to do. But if you are in a more predictive part of your scope, for example, and it lasts 2 months, what is the problem? I don't see any problem about that because you are in a hybrid world, not necessarily on a totally agile way that you have to explore in small sprints and have some feedbacks because you are in a hybrid environment. So you have the possibility to mix both of them. I have part of my scope that will be predictive, 2 months, and in parallel, I have some sprints here, very small, in order to define what I'm having to do. You can mix both of things. It's not necessarily to keep rigid. Oh, my sprint is going to take between 1 and 4 weeks. Why? It's not, you're not obliged to do this. You are in a hybrid environment. So you have the possibility to mix everything you need on the FLEKS model. The only thing here is focused on value. This is the point. This is the point. Okay. And here we have on the right side here, you have traditional roles. You don't have to create different and very, oh, this is a different name. No, this is have traditional role. Project manager, product manager, portfolio manager, that's the same. You don't have to create anything new. This is exactly how it works. And here we don't have scrum masters. We don't have product owners here. You don't. Why? Because the project manager does everything that a scrum master does plus the project management. Here, the product manager does everything a product owner does plus the product management process here. And this is the point. Okay? Also, if you are in a company or organization, it's not trying to do a project, just a product. Let's say, for example, a constant value delivery process. You don't need to use this layer here. You just go straight for this layer here and deliver products continuously. Let's say, for example, you are in an antivirus company, Kaspersky or anyone like this. This is a constant flow. It's not a project. It's a product being maintained all over the year. You don't need this layer here. You just need to do this. This is a kind of value streaming, and it's a way to deliver value. So, as I told you before, the flex model is a kind of Legos. You can mount these Legos as well as you want. If you need a project, okay, go with them, with both. I just need a product to be managed. Okay, go there with the product. This is a value streaming. It doesn't matter. And if I need a port program, I put a program here, layer here. If I need to make a portfolio, okay, you need a portfolio layer. You have to do here. And as soon as you deliver things here, at the end of the portfolio here, you provide information for your results review here regarding your VMO. And this is the end of the OKR cycle managed by the OKR. And then here at the end of the first quarter, that is exactly the same period that you are going to manage your portfolio iteration. You can adapt your OKR cycle for the next OKR cycle or the next quarter. So from the sprint iteration review until your organizational strategy, everything works together and connected. Everything coming back, information, transparency, information, reviews, retrospective, everything happens on the same way. Everything has the same thought. It's simple like that. This is how the FLEKS model works. You have a strategy here. You have just one.
Yeah.
just one.
Sure, please.
You have this. Can you hear me well, Gaurav?
Yes, we can hear. Yeah.
Okay, you have your strategy here, and here you have to adapt your strategy in a more agile way, turning into small iteration process, and then you'd have your projects, have in your products here, having feedback all the time for your organization to have an idea of how you're going to deliver value with most valuable possible in less risky process. And this is how you're going to adapt your strategy all over the year. This is the point. Well, this is the finish here of my presentation. 45 minutes, as I promised you. Okay. It has a lot of things to say. The model is big and the model is complex here. But if you're more interested here in the model, we are going to provide a training. Yes, it's a 12-hour training process. It was going to take place in January 30th and 31st. This will be India time, isn't it, Gaurav? It will be in India time. Okay, yes. It's a weekend. It's a weekend. This is the cost. This is the cost for the training and the certification process. This is going to be the training certificate. Okay, this is going to be your FLEKS hybrid model certificate. That's already taking place all over the world. Okay, it's available right now. If you wanted to register for the training, you can go there. Here, the address here is very simple: FLEKS-eventbrite.com.br. We can go there. It's available from now on. Okay, this encompasses this prices encompasses the whole training. It will be on live with me explaining the whole details of the model, how to implement it, and also preparing you for the certification process. And the certification process has a time box. Okay, has a time box. It lasts 1 month, 1 month after the end of the training here. Okay, it's a window that you have to create the process, and you can do it anytime. Just click on the link anytime you feel you're better, you're ready for the exam, and go there. It's a 50-question exam that lasts 60 minutes, and then if you pass the exam with 70% accuracy, you have a certification for your lifetime. It doesn't expire. It lasts for your lifetime. You're going to be a FLEKS hybrid model manager. Okay? Gaurav, this is your time.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Helio. So I believe there were a few questions. So I invite all the
Let's go for the
participants
question.
to ask their questions. So one of the questions which I just saw was, can I change the length of the sprint along the path? So this question is from Juan.
On the same sprint, in fact, can I change the length of the sprint as soon as the sprint started?
Juan, are you there? Can you elaborate your question? I think you are on mute. So the exact question was, should I identify at the beginning the sprint length required in each step?
Let me explain. Let me explain what I understood.
Sure.
Okay. For example, when you're playing an iteration, that could be a sprint or it can be a release or even a project. You're planning the sprint is going to take this time. Okay, you're gonna fix it. But if something happens on the middle of the way and you need to change some parameter to deliver the value, and this is in accordance with all the stakeholders, you are allowed to do this. It's not a question of keeping the time or reducing the scope. No, this is different. This is the point. You have a plan. Okay, this is going to be our sprint length or sprint duration. But here, if it's more important to keep the time and minimize the scope, for example, you can do it because sometimes you must have a limited time. But if it's more important to deliver the value, not to keep the time, you are allowed to do this. This is the point. I think this was the question, isn't it, Gaurav?
Yes. So Juan, do you have any follow-up question or is it answered? I take it as a yes, so it's answered.
Gaurav, did you writing here? I'm writing here the FLEKS model.
Yes,
the FLEKS model.
yeah. I did share
address here.
Yes, I did share with everyone. So
yes, just the guide is for free. You have the canvas for free also. You can download everything you want.
And I believe there was few questions as you answered in between regarding case studies. So you mentioned that in Brazil, this is being implemented, right?
Yes, there are some companies that are already implementing that.
Okay.
Gaurav, this is Padma here.
Hi, Padma. Yeah.
Hi, Harry. I actually like the model. It's quite interesting to learn something new. And especially the fact that it's in hybrid is really very interesting. Actually, I also wanted to, what I was expecting is probably a working dummy model. If you could show, if you have some time, that would be really great.
Well, I didn't understand your question. It's very low. I can't hear very well.
So Dr. Elio, Padma asked about if you have any working model. So she would be interested to see if there is any working model or any dummy type of model which can be implemented.
What will be the dummy model?
Working model means which can be easily implemented. Like the model which you shared, is it easily it can be implemented?
Yeah, as I told you, you can implement it in models. It's not necessarily to implement everything at the same time. If you're trying to implement project, I just want to implement the project and product layers. You can do that, and the model works itself. And then, for example, let's say that it was, I'm going to implement the whole model for my company, but in a few years. Let's start first with the product and the project layers, and then you can use it. Try to do it, and you see how things work. And then as well as you have simple projects, and then you have more complex projects, do that. Just try to implement the cycles, the project and product layers. And then you have, okay, now I'm more comfortable with that. And then I can implement this for whole portfolios. And then I can create the business analysis. And now I can implement the value management office. And then I can implement the OKRs that I don't have it. You don't have to implement everything at the same time. It's not. You can do Padmalata. You can implement it in small cycles, in small parts. And you can also, if your company is not very big, you can mix the roles. For example, a project manager can do everything that a business analyst does. If you're a small company, the process is there. These are roles. They are not functions in your company. Did you understand? You have a small company. Okay, my project manager can be my business analyst and also can be my product manager. It doesn't matter. It depends on how big is your project. Okay, my advice here is to implement it in parts. If you don't have time or people to implement a VMO, for example, don't do it. Just do it in your projects. Try to do it in your projects, to work in an iterative process, creating the project management layer together with the product layer, and the product layer working in cycles in order to give you feedbacks and adapt your scope or your backlog, but keeping the project management layer in order to give you some kind of predictability to your clients, to your boss, to your shareholders, to your portfolio. This is the point. It's not necessary to put everything together on the same time. The model is complete, but it's not necessary to implement everything all the time in once. No, it's not. You can implement it in parts, and you can mix roles. Okay, let's say, for example, Padmahala, that I'm going to implement FLEKS on your life, only your life. You can be your VMO, isn't it? You're going to prioritize what you are going to do, what will be more interesting, more valuable for you with less risks. You can plan your life in small cycles, let's say quarters, and try what I'm going to do in this quarter in my life. You are implementing a VMO, but in your life. And then you find this is going to be my plan for this quarter, and I'm going to do this. This is the cost, this is the time, this is the risks. I'm going to do this. I'm going to implement this part of this process here. And you are being a FLEKS model hybrid manager. But in your life, it's not necessary to be big to implement the model. But if you are in a big company, so maybe you need some more people to do this. But you can do, the FLEKS is like something like this. It's scalable. You can do in the small parts like Lego, or big parts. You can put many parts or just small parts as well as you need. This is how it's so simple to implement it. And this kind of flexibility gives you more robustness. The more flexible you are, the more robust you are also, because you have flexibility to implement. Did I answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. I like the fact that it is flexible. Thank you so much for explaining.
So Dr.
Thank
Elio,
you for your
another
question.
question. Yeah, thank you, Padma. So another question which could be there in the minds of the participants, how different it is from already existing scaled agile models, right? How different it is?
How different it is. The first one, it's not so complex as safe, in my point of view. It's not so complex. It's not so simple as Nexus and less. You have also the sustainability that it doesn't exist. You have also the change management process. It doesn't exist in all the models. Is also you have the value management also and business analysis that the other process don't have it. And also it works in a recursive way that as I told you, the portfolio, the program, everybody working on the same process, the same mindset. And this is I think it's very, very different. We have business analysis, we have a VMO, you have a different point of view of how you create value, the idea of maximize value and minimize risks all the time, since your company and as well as your small sprint, everybody thinks in the same way. How can I maximize the value and minimize the risks? In your sprint, in your release, in your project, in your program, in your portfolio, in your company. Everybody, the logic is the same all over the process. And this fact of being a sustainable strategy and also change management, thinking and linking the traditional strategy to an agile strategy, just like OKR, makes the whole difference for the processes. Okay. And also, it's for free. And it's for free.
Great, thanks,
Anything
Dr.
else?
Yeah. Any other questions? We still have 2 minutes.
Either.
There is one question on the chat window. How Flex is different from waterfall method, especially in small scale startups?
How FLEKS is different from waterfall? Yes, because it's different from waterfall. Because, oh, can you hear me? Yes. Okay. It's different. It's different because you have the product layer that works exactly on the same way on an agile process, in iterative process. But the difference here, if you are in an agile or in a more predictive part, you can also do the same thing, that delivering things in small parts, okay? Creating value in a sustainable way. But if you start to studying the FLEKS model in a deeper way and how types of value that you deliver, you don't have to deliver, for example, if you are in a predictive part of your small startup, maybe when you deliver the first thing, the first release, it's not necessarily to be usable because you are in a predictive way. But if you need to implement something that you need feedback to progress the development, you can do that. So you are in the same logic, delivering in small cycles or in different cycles, depending on the product that you're going to deliver. But you are always delivering value and minimizing the risks. This is the point. So you don't have to consider that something valuable is something that really works. For example, let's say that you are building a bridge or your house. Let's say that you are the first phase or the first release is going to be the foundations of the bridge of your house. Is it a value? Yes. Why not? Not necessarily can be something that you're going to use, because on an agile way, you need a feedback because you don't know what you're going to produce. So you need feedback to move on. So here, if you are in a hybrid environment, you don't need it. You can have something usable to get a feedback to move on, or you can just release part of your product because you are in a hybrid environment. You have some parts of your scope that is uncertain and some part of your project that can be completely predictable. So you can mix the best strategy of both worlds with predictability, with value variables, scope, time, cost, risk, stakeholders, and delivering value in cycles. This is how a hybrid approach works. And it doesn't matter how big your company is. That's the same. That's the same logic.
Absolutely, Dr. So here we are not saying predictive or adaptive, but predictive and adaptive.
That's it. It's
Any final question which anyone would like to ask?
Um,
I'm
Gaurav,
trying to understand this.
Yeah, I think Gaurang is there. Yes.
sorry. So I trying to the flag model in this session because this is the first time I'm just hearing about it. And I was trying to draw some differences between safe and flex, right? Because I'm looking through my own organization and we have implemented safe, correct? Now we have been talking about value management creation in this model, and we spoke about the portfolio layer, right? Now. Um, I'm trying to understand how different could it be against a lean portfolio management, which is there in Safe, right? Now, I mean, it's like I can keep defining my portfolio, or I can keep adopting my portfolio every quarter and stuff like that if I have to. And it also has the product layer, the program layer, and then the portfolio layer. So I was kind of trying to understand how how can we draw a difference between Safe and Flex, probably if we can.
Gaurav, could you hear the answer, the question?
Yeah. So
It was very,
yeah, his voice was slightly breaking. So his question was that how different it is from the lean portfolio which is there in SAFE, the scaled agile framework, or there are any similarities when we have that lean portfolio in SAFE model versus flex model.
okay. The first thing here, I have to say that the flex model is based on many models, and you're going to see many similarities in many models. You're going to see there is from Prince to Agile, Safe, LESS, Nexus, International Association of Business Analysis, Scrum, PMBOK, and you're going to see many things that are very similar to that. But the point here is how can you mix everything on a single model that is very lean? That's the process. That's the point. If there is any similarity, yes, there are some similarities like this. But the point is, I have put some things together that doesn't exist in some other models. If you are in a lean portfolio management, for example, or if you are in an agile portfolio, there is a friend of mine in Brazil that does exactly the same thing. You have a portfolio iteration, but connected with the OKR. This is a little bit different, okay? And then you have the possibility to have the feedback from everyone downstairs, and this is very simple to implement. Oh, is it similar to Safe? Yes, it's similar to Safe because Flex, it's a mix of everything that we have already played and used it in the whole world. But I think Flex is more simple to implement and is not so complex in so many different names. This is the point. I have to say that. I have read and used Safe, Prince 2 Agile, balanced scorecard, strategies, OKRs, many things like this are involved in Flex. But also everything is integrated. That's the point. Okay?
Thank you, Dr. Helio.
Okay.
I think we are already 5 minutes past 8. So just for the reminder, so Dr. Elio, you did share the prices of the certification and the dates, right? So maybe we can circulate this with the participants if anyone is interested, so they can avail the opportunity. Right?
So did you share the address of register for the training, Ralph?
Come again, sorry, Dr. Elio?
Did you share the address for anyone to get on the training?
No, I didn't share the address. So maybe you can just type the link if they wish to see the details.
Okay.
I don't have
Okay,
that link.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have. Okay, I'll write it on the chat. It's already available. It's already available. here and here. It's on the chat right now.
Yes. So I can send this link to all the participants also, but they can also note it down.
It will be a fantastic journey. We are going to have a 12-hour of information on all details. I have trained around 180 people in Brazil on this next few months, and people are loving it and implementing it. It's very, very, very insightful training. It's a 12-hour online training. Okay, it's a long time to discuss things, to get more in details, and you're going to get some important tips for certification, important tips how to adapt and how to implement. And it can use it for software companies, engineering companies, people from human resources, people from maintenance. There is a company in Brazil that's doing for maintenance because they are just using the small part, the product management layer, together with the OKRs and the portfolios, because they are just company. They are working with the oil maintenance industry in Brazil. They're just doing the OKR and then the portfolio and then the products. So it can be used in any industry. It's amazing how things are moving on this way. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other question?
Yeah. I think.
Is it okay?
Yes. I think it's okay for now. And I think you have shared the link, and the participants can visit this. And if they are interested, they can just avail the opportunity. Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Helio, for this insightful discussion. And thanks to all the participants for joining this session. And we look forward for implementing FLEKS hybrid model. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank you so
I'm
much.
longing for
Thank you.
implementing
Thank
FLEKS
you.
model in India.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Be FLEKS.
Bye. Thanks. Thank you.
Be FLEKS and be FLEKS. Gaurav, can I talk to you a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So we can connect.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, Ida.
Bye bye. Thank you, expert.